welcome to another episode on the Global Mic.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to really get into something incredible. We're talking about music, but not just like how it sounds, but how it actually affects us.
Yeah. It's way more than just entertainment. I mean, it impacts our emotions, our brains, even our bodies.
Exactly. We've got a ton of research, interesting stories, really some surprising facts about music. We're going to see how it can rewire our brains, how it helps us heal, even boost our mood.
Right. So get ready to learn because we are diving deep.
Absolutely. So I think a good place to start is something everyone listening can relate to. Think about how music makes you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you hear a powerful song, you might get chills. A really emotional song, maybe you tear up a little. And then a catchy pop song, instant mood booster. Why is that?
Well, it's not just magic. There's actual science behind it. Music interacts with our brain, specifically the limbic system. You can think of it as the emotional control center. And all the different parts of music, melodies, tempos, chords, they trigger different feelings.
So like upbeat music, major chords, that's usually associated with happiness.
Often, yep. But then slower music, minor keys, those can make you feel a bit sadder or maybe nostalgic, thinking about the past.
Oh yeah, totally.
And it's really interesting. There's research showing that listening to sad music can actually help you process negative emotions. It's like a musical way to deal with those bad feelings.
Like a musical catharsis.
Yeah.
So it's not just about wallowing. There's real science behind that idea of having a good cry to some sad music.
Exactly. It can be healthy.
That actually makes me think of another thing. You know how certain songs can instantly take you back in time?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like you hear a specific song and boom, a vivid memory. It's like a time machine.
It really is. And that connection between music and memory, it's so strong,
Yeah.
And it's actually being used therapeutically.
Really?
Yeah, so in music therapy, they're seeing incredible results with patients who have Alzheimer's or dementia.
Wow.
Even if their short-term memory is fading, music can unlock those older memories.
So it's bringing back emotions, maybe even parts of their personality that seemed lost.
Exactly. It's amazing to see.
That's incredible. So we've talked about how music affects our emotions, but what about our brains in general? Can listening to music make us smarter? I've heard about the Mozart effect, but is there really any truth to that?
The Mozart effect. It's a bit of a controversial topic.
Right.
Some studies show that after listening to Mozart, people perform a little better on spatial temporal reasoning tasks, those tasks involving shapes and patterns. But the effect is usually short-lived. It doesn't mean you suddenly have a higher IQ.
Yes, no instant geniuses.
Not quite, but this does bring up something really fascinating. Neuroplasticity. This is the brain's amazing ability to change and adapt. Like learning to play an instrument actually strengthens connections in your brain.
So that could lead to actual benefits in like problem solving.
Yeah, problem solving, critical thinking, even creativity.
So while just listening to Mozart might not make us geniuses, if we actively engage with music, that's when the real rewiring happens.
Exactly. And even just listening to music, passively enjoying it, it releases dopamine.
Dopamine, the feel-good chemical.
Yes, that's the one. So that's a big part of why music can make us feel better and even more motivated.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Like
Yeah.
when you're feeling tired, but you put on your favorite music for a workout and suddenly have more energy.
Yeah, it's like a dopamine boost.
Exactly. So we've covered emotions. We've talked about the brain. What about music's effect on our bodies? I mean, it's pretty clear music makes us move.
Absolutely. It's impossible to ignore that connection. Music has a huge influence on our physicality.
Right.
Like think about motor control and coordination. Music plays a big part in that. It's actually used a lot in physical rehabilitation.
Yeah. To help people regain movement after injuries.
Exactly. Like I've heard of this thing called rhythmic auditory stimulation.
Rhythmic auditory stimulation.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They use music with a really strong, steady beat to help Parkinson's patients.
So the music helps them with things like walking, balance, and coordination.
Exactly. It's almost like the rhythm guides their movements.
Wow, that sounds amazing. But what about for people who aren't in rehab? Like, we all know that music makes exercise more enjoyable and probably more effective too. Why is that?
Well, think about rhythm again. Our brains are wired to sync up with musical beats.
Oh, that's why we tap our feet or dance.
Exactly. It's such a basic, instinctual response. Humans have been moving to music for as long as we've been around.
That's pretty incredible. So
Yeah.
this connection between music and movement, it's not just a personal thing. It goes beyond cultures and languages, right?
You're absolutely right. I mean, music is often called the universal language, and for good reason. No matter where you're from, what language you speak, music has this amazing ability to bring people together.
It really does. Think about how music is used in traditions and ceremonies all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
You have celebrations with music. You have moments of mourning with music. It allows us to express emotions that words just can't capture.
It's a way to connect on a deeper level, a level that goes beyond words.
It's pretty amazing. And even though music itself might be universal, our personal preferences are so different.
Right, like what I consider a great song, you might totally hate, and vice versa.
Exactly. What shapes those musical preferences?
It's a mix of everything, your culture, your personal experiences, even your age.
Oh, I can see that. We all have those songs that bring back specific memories, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fascinating how our brains develop those preferences in the first place.
Well, think about the music you grew up with. It gets ingrained in your brain, influencing your taste. But even with all those individual differences, there's still something about music that breaks down barriers and creates this feeling of shared humanity.
Yeah, I totally get that. And speaking of the future, it seems like we're just starting to understand music's potential, especially for medical treatments.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've heard about breakthroughs in using music to help patients with neurological disorders like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's.
It's really remarkable. I mean, we talked about rhythmic auditory stimulation for Parkinson's patients.
Right.
And for people with Alzheimer's, they're using personalized playlists.
Personalized playlist.
Yeah, filled with songs from the patient's past.
Oh, wow.
And this can trigger memories, emotions. Sometimes it even helps bring back a sense of self that they had lost.
So it's like music is unlocking parts of their brains that were inaccessible before. That must be so powerful for both the patient and their families.
It is incredibly moving to see. And it's not just these specific treatments. Technology is opening up a whole new world for music and medicine.
I can imagine. AI-generated music, VR experiences.
Exactly.
It seems like the future of music is going to be incredible.
It really does. AI is being used to make original music, analyze patterns, even personalize soundscapes for therapy. And VR, that's letting us experience music in totally new ways, like
Yeah.
being immersed in a virtual concert hall or even becoming part of the performance. It's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Mm.
But before we get too lost in the future, maybe we should step back and look at what's happening right now.
Yeah, good point.
With all the excitement about new technology, it's easy to forget about just experiencing music in the moment for the pure enjoyment of it.
Definitely. Sometimes it's good to just be present with the music.
Right. We've talked a lot about how music affects us personally, but we haven't really talked about the cultural side of things.
Oh, yeah.
How it shapes societies, reflects our values. Maybe we should explore that now. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great direction to go in. I mean, music is so intertwined with our social lives. It's definitely worth exploring further.
Mhm.
So when we talk about how music shapes our identities, we have to remember that music's more than just notes and melodies, right? It's a reflection of where it comes from, the cultures and societies that create it.
Right. It's like a sonic fingerprint. You can hear history, politics, social movements, all woven into the music.
Absolutely. Like, think about how powerful music was in the civil rights movement, or how punk rock became this voice of rebellion back in the 70s.
Yeah, you can totally hear those influences.
And even within a single culture, you have so many different genres, each with its own vibe, its own set of values.
Oh, yeah.
Like, compare classical music, very structured, traditional, to hip-hop, which is all about rhythm and wordplay, social commentary. Each one gives you a different way to see the world.
I like the different lens. So it's like music gives us this vocabulary to express who we are and to connect with people who get us, who have similar tastes.
Exactly. And that's where the community building comes in. People bond over their shared love of a certain band or genre. They go to concerts together, share playlists, form online communities.
Oh, yeah. It's like finding your tribe, you know? When you meet someone who loves that same obscure band as you, it's an instant connection.
It really is. Like, I remember my first rock concert. The energy was insane. Everyone's singing along. I felt like I'd finally found where I belonged.
It's a powerful feeling. And it's not just about the music itself, right? It's that shared experience.
Right. Whether it's the excitement of a live concert or even just that quiet moment when you share a meaningful song with a friend. Music creates connection. It can bridge cultural gaps, language barriers.
That's so true. Some of my most vivid memories are from concerts, feeling that energy of the crowd, singing along with thousands of other people. It's something else.
It really is unique, and I think it speaks to this deep human need we all have to connect with others, to feel like we belong. Music gives us that. It's bigger than just
I
ourselves.
totally agree, but of course it's not always positive,
Right.
right? Music can also be used to divide people, to reinforce stereotypes.
Yeah, that's important to remember. Like any form of expression, music can be used in good or bad ways. Think about how certain genres get tied to specific groups, sometimes leading to prejudice.
Right, sadly, that happens.
It's up to all of us, as both listeners and creators, to be aware of the messages we're sending and receiving through music. We have to use it responsibly.
Well said. It's like, with great power comes great responsibility. So we've talked about how music shapes who we are and helps build communities. But what about its role in reflecting the values of our society? Can music really be a mirror to our culture?
Absolutely. Music reflects the beliefs, the anxieties, even the hopes of a society. What's popular in music often gives you insights into what's going on culturally at that time.
Okay, so like the rise of protest music back in the 60s and 70s, that was a reflection of all the social and political upheaval happening then.
Exactly. And today you hear a lot of themes of isolation and anxiety in music, maybe reflecting the pressures of modern life.
That makes sense.
Music is like a barometer of the cultural climate. It expresses the dreams and fears of a generation.
I like that, a barometer. So it's like music gives us this soundtrack to history. Like
Yep.
if you want to understand the 80s, just put on some synth pop and hair metal. It's all right
Yeah,
there.
exactly. It captures the essence of each era.
So music reflects our current values, but can it also shape the future? Can it actually influence social change, inspire new ways of thinking?
Oh, I definitely believe it can. Music has always been a tool for change. Protest anthems that rally people around a cause, songs that spread awareness of important issues.
Like We Shall Overcome during the Civil Rights Movement, or John Lennon's Imagine, which was all about peace and unity.
Exactly. Those songs became anthems, they inspired people to act, and as technology keeps evolving, the potential for music to drive change is only going to get bigger.
Oh, for sure. Like how artists use social media to connect with fans and raise awareness about issues they care about. And streaming platforms are giving independent artists a global reach that was impossible before.
Exactly. It's a really exciting time to be both a music lover and a creator. But even with all these advancements, I think the real power of music comes from its ability to connect us on a human level.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the tech and forget the core of it. So music is more than just entertainment. It's part of what makes us human. It's this constantly evolving gift that connects and inspires us.
Beautifully said. And speaking of evolving, we can't forget about music therapy. We touched on it earlier, but I think it deserves a deeper look.
You're right. We talked about Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, but there's so much more to it. What are some of the most exciting things happening in music therapy right now?
Well, personalized music interventions are really taking off. Researchers are developing algorithms that analyze a patient's preferences, their emotional state, even their brainwaves, to create custom music experiences for specific therapeutic goals.
So it's like a musical prescription designed just for you. That's
Mhm.
incredible. How does that actually work?
Okay, so imagine someone who's struggling with anxiety. A music therapist could use these algorithms to make a playlist of music that's been shown to reduce stress.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they might include pieces with specific tempos and harmonies that have calming effects on the nervous system.
Wow, it's like using music as a precision tool.
Mhm.
But it's not just for anxiety, right? Could this personalized approach be used for other conditions too?
Absolutely. The potential is huge. They're using it for chronic pain, depression, even autism spectrum disorder. And as we learn more about how music and the brain interact, the possibilities just keep growing. What's even more exciting is that technology is making these interventions more accessible.
Oh, you mean like apps and wearables that could track our biofeedback and give us personalized music in real time, like having a music therapist on call 24/7.
Exactly. It's this amazing convergence of music therapy, neuroscience, and technology, all working together to help people heal and transform.
That's mind-blowing. But even with all the high-tech stuff, I imagine the human element is still crucial.
Absolutely. The technology is a tool, but the therapist's expertise, their understanding of music and psychology, that's essential to create a safe and supportive environment for the patient.
So it's a reminder that even with all the advancements, it's the human connection that really makes the difference. Speaking of technology, though, we can't ignore the elephant in the room: artificial intelligence. AI is already changing the music industry in so many ways, from songwriting to production to how we discover music. How do you see AI shaping the future of music?
That is a fascinating question, and there's no easy answer. AI is having a huge impact, and its influence is only going to grow.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling to think about. On the one hand, it seems like AI could democratize music creation, make it easier for anyone to create and share their own music.
Right. AI tools can help with songwriting, composing, arranging, even producing entire tracks. So someone who never had the opportunity to make music before, they suddenly have the tools to do it. It could lead to an explosion of creativity.
I love that idea. All these new and innovative sounds emerging as AI becomes part of the process. But then there's that other side, the concern that AI might devalue human creativity.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. Some people worry that as AI gets more sophisticated, it could lead to a world where algorithms are dictating what's popular and human creativity takes a back seat.
Like we'll all end up listening to the same generic AI-generated pop songs.
Mm,
No soul, no real human expression.
exactly. And then there are the ethical questions, like who owns the rights to a hit song created by an algorithm? Is it the programmer, the company that owns the AI, or the human artist who might have inspired it? It gets really complicated.
It's a whole legal and philosophical minefield.
Mm.
But despite the challenges, I still think AI has the potential to be a positive force in music.
I agree. It can be a tool for collaboration, for pushing boundaries, for opening up new creative paths for human artists.
Like a superpowered brainstorming buddy. It could spark new ideas, suggest harmonies you wouldn't have thought of, maybe even create entire soundscapes that human composers can then build on.
Exactly. And beyond creation, AI is changing how we experience and interact with music. Streaming platforms use it to personalize recommendations, make custom playlists, even predict what songs will be hits.
It's like having a DJ who knows your taste better than you do.
And then there are AI-powered assistants that let you control your music with your voice, discover new artists based on your mood. It's pretty amazing how integrated AI is becoming.
It really is.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up this AI talk, I think it's important to say AI is not a replacement for human creativity.
100%. Music is, at its heart, a way for us to connect with each other, to share emotions, stories, experiences, and no algorithm can ever truly replicate that human connection.
Beautifully said. But speaking of connection, maybe we should zoom out a bit and talk about music in a globalized world. How is it bringing cultures together?
That's a great segue. In our increasingly interconnected world, music is playing a bigger role than ever in bridging cultural divides.
Like, music really is the universal language. It transcends borders, connects people from all walks of life.
Exactly. And thanks to the internet and streaming, we have access to music from literally all over the world.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it. We can listen to traditional folk music from the Andes Mountains 1 minute, and then switch to Afrobeat rhythms from Nigeria, then to K-pop, all in a matter of seconds. It's incredible.
It really is. And that exposure to different traditions, it expands our horizons, our musical tastes. It helps us appreciate the richness and beauty of other cultures.
Music is like a passport to the world.
I love that. It lets us experience different cultures through sound. And as we become familiar with music from other places, we develop a deeper understanding of the people who created it.
It breaks down barriers, builds bridges between people who might never have connected otherwise. And it's not just about listening, is it? We can engage more actively, learn about the history and traditions behind the music, maybe even try to play the instruments ourselves.
Absolutely. Active engagement takes appreciation to a whole new level.
It does. And then there's the collaboration happening between artists from different countries, different musical backgrounds.
Oh, yeah, we're seeing more and more of that. It's so exciting.
Blending genres, fusing traditions.
It's like a global musical melting pot. And these collaborations aren't just creating amazing new music, they're fostering understanding and promoting a sense of global citizenship.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. It reminds us that music is more than just entertainment. It's a force for positive change in the world.
Beautifully said. But we should also acknowledge that music can be used in less positive ways to reinforce cultural differences and divisions.
Oh yeah, definitely. Throughout history, music has been used to promote nationalism, to demonize other cultures, even to incite violence. It's a side we can't ignore.
You're right, it's a complex issue. But I do believe that ultimately music's power for good outweighs its potential for harm.
I agree. And as we become more globalized, it's more important than ever to use music as a tool for building bridges, fostering understanding, and celebrating our shared humanity.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But as we wrap up this discussion on music in a globalized world, we should touch on how streaming platforms are shaping how we consume and experience music.
That's a great point. Platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, they've totally revolutionized how we listen.
It's a whole new world. We've gone from physical albums and limited radio play to a world of unlimited streaming and personalized playlists. It's been a huge shift for the music industry.
Yeah. It's like having a whole music library in our pockets. But this convenience comes with its own set of challenges.
Definitely. One of the biggest is making sure artists are compensated fairly. The royalty rates paid by streaming services are notoriously low.
It's a tough issue. Some say streaming platforms need to pay artists more. Others argue the current rates are fair given the vast amount of music available and the low cost of subscriptions. It's about finding a balance that works for both sides.
It's a debate that will probably go on for a while. And then there's the concern that streaming might actually hurt musical diversity.
Oh, right. Because the algorithms are designed to keep us listening longer, which could mean they favor mainstream pop hits over lesser-known artists and genres. Like if I only ever listen to one type of music, my Discover weekly playlist is going to be pretty one-dimensional.
Exactly. If we're only exposed to music that's similar to what we already like, we miss out on discovering new sounds.
It's like we're stuck in an echo chamber.
Yeah, and that could lead to everyone listening to the same few songs, and all that richness and diversity gets lost.
That would be a shame. But despite those challenges, I still think streaming platforms can be a force for good.
I agree. They've made music more accessible than ever, and they've given artists new ways to reach a global audience.
And to connect with fans in ways that weren't possible before.
It's a really exciting time to be both a music lover and a music creator. But as we navigate this new world, we have to be aware of the challenges and advocate for a fair system that benefits both artists and listeners.
Couldn't agree more. But before we wrap up our entire deep dive, I think it's good to take a moment to just reflect on what we've learned.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We've covered a lot today, from the science of how music affects our brains and bodies to its role in society and culture.
It's amazing to think about how deeply music is woven into every part of our lives. We've seen how it brings back memories, evokes emotions, even helps us heal.
And we talked about how it shapes who we are, builds communities, reflects our values, how it's constantly changing and adapting as technology and culture evolve.
And of course, we explored AI music, streaming platforms, all these things that are shaping the future of how we experience music.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. So before we go, what are your thoughts on what the future holds for music? What excites you about the possibilities?
Well, one thing I'm really excited about is the rise of immersive and interactive musical experiences. It's like music, technology, and sensory experiences are all coming together to blur the lines between the performer and the audience.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
So think about virtual reality concerts. Fans can experience live performances from anywhere in the world with 360-degree views and interactive elements.
Wow, like you're transported to the front row, even if you're miles away.
Exactly. And beyond VR, there's augmented reality, which overlays digital content onto the real world. So imagine live concerts with added visual effects, interactive elements, even virtual performers.
So it's like taking the energy of a live concert and amplifying it with technology.
Exactly. And then there are interactive music installations and museums where people can create their own music, experiment with sounds and instruments, even control visuals with their movements and sounds.
That's so cool. It's like music is becoming a playground for creativity, a place where everyone can participate.
I love that analogy. And these are just a few examples. As technology evolves, I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
It sounds like an amazing time to be a music lover. But before we get lost in the future, maybe we should ground ourselves back in the present for a moment.
You're absolutely right. Sometimes it's good to just appreciate the simple joy of experiencing music right now.
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in analyzing everything, and we forget that music is meant to be enjoyed.
It's about letting the sounds wash over you, allowing yourself to be moved by the melodies and rhythms, connecting with the emotions and stories that the music evokes.
It's about losing yourself in the music and letting it take you to another place.
Beautifully said. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the power of music, I think it's important to remember that music is a gift, something we can all enjoy no matter who we are or what our musical background is.
It's a gift that can heal, inspire, connect, and transform us.
And it's a gift we should cherish and celebrate every single day.
Okay, so as we wrap up this amazing deep dive, let's step back for a second. We've explored how music affects our emotions, our brains, our bodies. We've talked about its role in society, culture, everything. So what does all this mean for the person listening right now?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? We can talk about the science, the history, But what really matters is how you use music in your own life.
Exactly. Now that we've unpacked all these fascinating things about music, how can people listening actually apply it?
Well, I think a good starting point is just to pay attention. Pay attention to how different types of music make you feel.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, do certain songs energize you while others calm you down? Figure out what works for you and then use that knowledge. Create playlists for different moods, different
It's
activities.
like creating a soundtrack for your life.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to branch out. Try new genres, explore artists you've never heard of before. You might be surprised at what you discover.
You might find a whole new genre that you love. Like maybe jazz helps you get creative, or classical music helps you focus.
Exactly. There's so many possibilities. And remember, it's not just about listening. Think about how you can be more active with music. Maybe you learn an instrument, join a choir.
Or just dance around your living room.
Exactly. Just move. The point is to find ways to make music a bigger part of your life, a more intentional part of your life.
This whole deep dive has really opened my eyes to how powerful music is. It's not just something nice to listen to, it's a core part of who we are, how we connect with the world.
It really is. And as you continue exploring the world of music, just remember, music is a gift. Cherish it, let it move you, and never stop exploring.
Beautifully said. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the power of music. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.